Welcome to the YouTube broadcast, as well as on all your podcast platforms. Daren, Millard, along with John Shannon, looking ahead to the Olympic Winter Games as we dial in the last couple of games before the break. And rosters are changing. It was inevitable that we would see some substitutions put in, but do you feel good about Sam Bennett being placed on Team Canada?
I guess.
I do. I feel great about it. I think
because
I felt he should have been there in the first place, and now he's where he belongs. Yeah. Now, it comes at a cost of Anthony Cirelli. I acknowledge that, but it feels better to me, and I feel like it writes a script where Sam Bennett's going to do something wonderful in this tournament.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize you were that close to Hollywood, writing Hollywood scripts now.
I'm only 4 hours away. And there's a lot of Hollywood that happens in Vegas.
Yes, I'm sure there is. But the old line, what stays in Vegas, or what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, though.
So usually what happens in Vegas beats you home.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Social media. Yeah. You know what? Sam Bennett's going to be a key cog for this club. And we love the way he plays the game, particularly when he plays for Canada as opposed to Florida. So from that perspective, yes. The one thing I wondered, as soon as we got the news, the one thing I wondered is, how does it change tomorrow night's Florida versus Tampa game? Because everybody's thinking that we're going to see another penalty-filled night. And
it might be the exact opposite.
With Sam now being a partner of John Cooper's next week in Italy, does it change the whole equation?
Well,
I wondered that.
So many guys going over from multiple nations, they just want to get through it healthy. It might be the tamest Florida-Tampa game of all time.
Well, and here's the thing. Florida, out of the playoffs, I think that's 9 players now from the roster going to Italy to play at the Olympics. 9. And it would have been more had Barkov been there. So that's a real challenge for Paul Maurice's team, who I think in the last couple of games have put themselves in such a tough spot. Losing to Winnipeg Saturday, losing to Buffalo. That's going to be a huge challenge for Florida to even get into the playoff race, let alone be in the playoffs.
You had no idea the way you signed off our last show. There's a little bit of foreshadowing to the National Hockey League.
Hey, listen, shit always happens. Are you kidding?
Yeah. You were not very happy, and you kind of let yourself go.
Well,
you got caught up in the emotion.
Yeah, I don't think I took a swing at anybody, though.
You might have taken a swipe at me.
No,
you know what you needed?
No, that's
you know what you needed? You needed Danny Briere to step out in front and just calm things down. The Philadelphia Flyers general manager attempting to do that regarding some stuff happening around the club, the record, and then the handling of Michkov by Rick Tocchet.
So do you remember we had Rick on earlier this season, and Rick talked about his whole philosophy and belief that, we got to make the playoffs, we got to push, and that he was actually sometimes on the wrong side of the conversation with Keith Jones and Danny Briere, because they're saying, we've got to be patient with our build.
They're calming him down. It's like holding him back. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that was the first thing that jumped out at me, was Rick still thinking that they got to get to the playoffs, and Danny's saying we got a young team, we're progressing, we're growing in the right area. Because
I think both of those can be right.
But what you don't want to do is get to the playoffs and then next year miss the playoffs. You want to get to the playoffs and then live there for a decade. So that's where where you understand and respect what Danny's saying. But I couldn't help believe, as soon as I saw Rick's comments about Michkov, there is a guy living in Connecticut raising his fist saying, yeah, I've been saying that for a couple of years. And that's John Tortorella. Because this was the same conversation, I think, we could read between the lines when John Tortorella had frustrations with Matvei Michkov. Don't you?
Yes. and it's going to be a process. Briere's comment about the advantage of Michkov being able to come over earlier and giving him an extended runway, I thought was really on the mark. That they're going through all of this now instead of next year and the year after. Just speeds up everything.
So the other one is everybody's saying, well, Michkov's a really good player, but I blame Kaprizov for this. I blame Kaprizov for all of this. Because I think now there's an expectation that you get a Russian super talented forward, and everybody compares them against Kaprizov. And everybody's got to be like Kaprizov now. You know what they've gone through. Montreal, they're with Demidov. Demidov's been great in Montreal. Yeah. But and I think there was a lot of hype around Michkov to say, well, he's our version. We're going to do it. Not everybody's the same, folks. And you're living in a bubble. Michkov's going to take time. They've tried so many different ways. They brought in Andrei Kuzmenko to have another Russian to talk to. That lasted 8 games, I think. So you do have to be patient. And at the same time, I trust Rick Tockett's philosophy that, guys, we got to keep going. We got to put the pedal to the metal, and we can get to the playoffs and still have our growth over the next decade. But I didn't view it as Briere siding with the player versus criticizing Rick Tocchet. No, I thought there was a level of transparency in the organization that said, here's where we are, here's what we're doing. We respect
anything
what
else.
Rick wants to do.
He was with Talk on the idea of you have to get this player to be a professional at a higher level. Like right. He's learning how to be in the National Hockey League.
Right. Again, I blame Kaprizov.
If it was just John Tortorella, people would be saying, "Oh, Torts."
Right. Well,
but now that it's both guys,
right,
and they come at it from different angles,
exactly.
It does though seem to focus more on Michkov, doesn't it?
I think so, and particularly if he came to camp not in shape. Shame on him. That doesn't happen anymore in this league.
Wait till next year. Yes, it does. People say guys don't come to camp in shape. They do come to camp. The odd player, not at the level that they should be in. It does happen.
Give me a name.
Okay. Keith Tkachuk back in 19.
No.
Do you remember that with Walt?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Or Marc-Andre Fleury today because Billy Guerin says he's fat.
That's relative. Single digits is body fat still darn good. Yeah, right. I got a question for you, but I'll save it until after Bill Daly, Deputy Commissioner of the National Hockey League, is going to join us next. It's 100% Hockey with Daren Millard and John Shannon.
NHL TV is now on DAZN. Hockey lives here.
Here we go.
Watch every game from every team. The best players in the world. And the coldest plays on ice. Watch up to 4 games at once for the ultimate NHL experience. Sign up now at DAZN.
Wrapping up the National Hockey League schedule before the Olympic break and looking ahead to what's happening in Milano and Cortina. Milano for the National Hockey League. Here's the Deputy Commissioner of the National Hockey League, Bill Daly, joining us. Is everything set from the NHL's perspective? Are you good for what's happening over there?
I got a positive report again this morning. I've been getting more positive reports lately. The fact that we're in a situation where they're trying to finish an arena less than a week away from a tournament is kind of crazy. But look, I have always been a kind of glass half full guy, and I think it'll be adequate to do what we need to do. And I think it's going to be a spectacular hockey tournament. So I'm looking forward to it.
Are there approval processes that you and the Players Association are involved in, or is that superficial?
Well, I mean, I think it's superficial to a certain extent. We do obviously have input into kind of approving or not the arena situation. Ultimately, in the contract, it is the IIHF's decision. Having said that, if it was an unsafe condition, I don't really care what the contract says. We wouldn't go. I've seen enough and know enough to feel optimistic that everything's set to go. That's my current mindset, and the people who've gotten there already in preparation are saying positive things. So.
I'm curious, how many boots on the ground will you have, and just so that people understand the roles that those people from the NHL and the PA will have during the tournament.
Well, the ice crew, we basically will send an ice crew, a qualified ice crew over there to assist. Everybody knows, I think he gets a lot of airtime, Don Moffitt, who has been in our world for a long time, is in charge, and he is an employee or consultant of MECO, which is the organizing committee, who pays his salary. Don has been good in sharing information with us. I think he's also been good in taking advice and counsel from Derek King, who is our principal point person on the ice side. So I think they're going to work in conjunction. Ultimately, again, it's the organizing committees and the IIHF's responsibility on the ice. If push came to shove and we said we absolutely need X, I don't think we have the ability to get X, but I think they'd give us X.
You said you're getting updates. So what will be on that checklist of things that you're keeping an eye on?
Well, I mean, at this point, I think most of the other things, we've had several trips. We've had teams go on several trips to Milano on kind of a tie-down basis. We have, we're running a hospitality program not only for our corporate sponsors who are going, but also for, our governors and our club personnel. Ground transportation has been a big deal. Hospitality in terms of where you're going to have it and what you're going to have and how much it costs has been a big deal. Unlike past Olympics, the International Ice Hockey Federation, while it was contemplated to go forward with a House of Hockey hospitality area that we would have access to, ultimately decided not to make that investment for a host of reasons, which kind of left a bunch of the stakeholders in the hockey tournament scrambling a little bit because they've got people coming and need places to put them and feed to or food to feed them. We've handled all that stuff. We have a staff who's worked hard to tackle those issues, and so I think we're in a pretty good spot right now.
What would be your number one concern days before the players arrive?
Well, I won't move off the ice. While the ice has been tested and while it's just been rebuilt recently, the fact of the matter is they haven't had the traffic on the ice that this tournament will present in short order. The women are playing in the arena in advance of the men's tournament starting. That should be helpful in terms of knowing kind of where we are and what might need to be tweaked and what improvements need to be made. But I would say, I think the ice is still somewhat an unknown in terms of its durability and whether it'll hold up to the conditions that, this is a heavy tournament, a lot of activity. I think we were concerned with some of the things in the arena that were inherent in the arena in terms of open doorways and open drafts, added humidification issues to the arena and were dangerous to the ice. I think they've addressed a lot of those since the test agreement or the test event. So, hopefully, those issues, to the extent they continue to exist, they're minimized. And, we'll be full speed ahead.
Was the ice rebuild part of the plan, or was that an adjustment?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Okay.
But in theory, with the arenas that you deal with, ice goes in and out all the time. I mean, that should not be a real challenge. It's just the fact that it's new concrete, a new system, and there hasn't been, as you said, enough traffic. Correct?
Correct. And I think also, you have to realize that they're also finishing an arena at the same time they're building an ice, right? Which one isn't necessarily consistent with the other. And I think there has been a concern over time about, all the construction particles all around the building and what effect, if any, they'd have on the ice. Certainly we have situations in our arenas where, pregame shows, postgame shows, create particles that affect ice quality. And that certainly was a concern for ours. As I understand it, this arena has been, I don't know if it continues to be, but it was on lockdown for for a period of multiple days, beginning last weekend, as a way really to cleanse some of the construction debris that continues to be in the air around a brand new construction project. So
you're involved in the Olympic tournament, but has this consumed what you do on a daily basis rather than your daily job? Pardon the pun.
You know what? I wouldn't say it's consumed me per se. I spend, I spend time on it, and I'm kind of the principal. Me and Lynn White are probably the principal people with respect to preparations for the tournament itself. But we have other. Lynn spends a lot more time on it than I do. Derek King has spent a lot of time on it. Chris King has spent a lot of time on it. We've made it a priority for sure. The Players Association obviously is interested and plugged in. And I think, they largely, particularly on ice quality, ice surface, ice issues, they defer largely to our experts, which I think is the right call. But they certainly have an interest in making sure it's as safe as possible.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the
PA? Positive. As I said, I think they realize that our guys do this for a living, and they know what they're talking about, and I think deferred and let us kind of lead the charge. They've been involved in, again, invited to and involved in all the briefings and all the update calls and the like. They were very present at the test event, sent numerous representatives over, actually may have sent more than we did, over to Milan, probably to run through the checklist of other items that, needed to be looked after in terms of their guests, the player guests, and what they're doing with their hospitality and the like. But they've been very plugged in, easy to work with. We're obviously aligned on wanting this tournament to be as successful as possible. We don't want any players to get hurt, and we want the ice to be as good as it can be. So those are our primary focuses.
So in previous Olympics that I was involved in, that the league was part of as well, footage was always an issue. Have the footage issues between the IOC and the NHL and the rights holders been resolved to a place where we're going to see more hockey footage used?
I believe so. The obviously right now, that gets the IOC obviously has umbrella rights over that, but really it's an NBC, CBC issue as much as anything else. And they've both outlets have worked with us, kind of relied on us. Obviously, we work with CBC on a regular basis, less so with NBC now, but NBC went back to taking a lot of the personnel who've worked on NHL and hockey broadcasts in the past and are using them for these Olympics. We expect to get really good coverage in certainly both of those countries, but I believe internationally as well. So, yeah, I think our kind of we have a rights improvement. There's no doubt about that. But you also have to look at the fact that we haven't been to the Olympics in 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
At the time we last went, our media platforms are really NHL.com and the NHL Network. We have so many different media platforms that we push content out on now, that it's including our foreign language websites and NHL Social and our stat website. We have a lot more platforms to make this a lot bigger deal than we've ever had before. So we're equipped well, and I think while we don't have to the point where we're going to have studio shows for the NHL Network in the buildings and kind of really using NBC's space. We never had those rights before. I remember in Vancouver, we were in a press conference that NHL people weren't even credentialed to attend, weren't even in the building. So
Right.
We've come a long way since then. And so I think we're excited about the opportunity of making the exposure big, and this a big deal for hockey generally.
I guess, Bill, on a superficial level, we for years and years and years we never saw, Mike Eruzione's goal. We never saw Sidney Crosby's golden goal. But hopefully, after the games are over, we'll be able to see, the medal ceremony, or B, the game-winning goal in the gold medal game on a regular basis, as opposed to if they'd love to take it if you want to pay for it.
Well, we do have some archival rights for sure. Those expire shortly after the Olympics, but during the Olympics, at least,
Right.
they can be utilized and leveraged. We also have the IOC will be producing an all-access show, which they'll be using NHL Productions to produce for them. So we'll have access to areas we've never really had access to before, including the Olympic Village. Doesn't mean we have the right to distribute that footage, but it gives us kind of some inside access. We also plan to do a lot with the players kind of on their off days and outside kind of the Olympic landscape, as we've begun to do more and more of with respect to some of our other events. And we and the Players Association both have spent a lot of time with the players, emphasize the importance of them pushing out content. We can amplify that content within IOC's rules. So we're creating other content that we probably really haven't seen before, which will be good.
There was a period of time where I got the feeling where people were wondering, is it worth it, the jam schedule and then some of the hiccups over there? Do you feel better about that, or is it still, this thing better be good to make up for all the upfront stuff?
I'm not going to make a call on whether this is this whole effort, which you're right, is an enormous effort by a lot of different people involved. We're doing it because, one, the players want to do it for sure, but two, we think we can lift the game, and not just the NHL game, but the game on a worldwide basis in ways that we can't do with just our regular season schedule. So, having said that, we have all the issues that we've always had with respect to player focus and injuries and things leading up to the Olympics and players, potentially taking games off to prepare for the Olympics. Those are all real concerns. Having said that, I'm not going to handicap how you balance all that stuff out until I get past the games, see what kind of experience it's been. Actually, and it's not even right after the game, right? I think the post-mortem really has to happen after the season's ended, to see what overall impact it's had. I was with the Players Association's past weekend Stadium Series. The feedback they're getting from the players is that, the condensed schedule is more of a media thing than it is a team or player thing. That they actually enjoy. They're interested in banging out the next game rather than taking an extra day off, kind of and particularly at this point in the season. So I think from a fan standpoint, I think the condensation of the schedule has actually been noticeable, but noticeable in a positive way. It creates a lot of content every night. I can leave the office and watch 6-7 games when on a normal night in a normal regular season I'm seeing 2 or 3. So I don't think that's necessarily been a bad thing. Obviously we've looked at injury trends. They're up slightly this year, but I'm not sure you can draw any direct correlation between the schedules our players are playing or being asked to play in an Olympic year and injury rates per se. We'll obviously take another look at that, coming out of the Olympics and coming out of the season. But I think for a full assessment, a fair assessment of what the Olympics means and whether it's something that we're really excited about or just willing to do, won't come until kind of the end of the season, maybe early in the summer as we do a deep dive.
By the way, when you ask people about, make sure you ask the coaches, because I don't think it's near as much driven by the media as it is the coaches.
Well, that's fair. I mean, but that's typical too, John, right?
Oh yeah.
They're always looking for reasons. And so I get it. I guess we all do that.
No, you talked about rosters. So for instance, you look at Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is probably, there's no guarantee he's going to play Thursday night for the Devils before they're supposed to leave. But if he doesn't play, he's still eligible to go to the games.
So, I mean, the key is whether the player has been cleared by the NHL medical team to as fit to play. If they're cleared as fit to play, they're fully within their rights and encouraged to go participate in the Olympics. If they're not fit to play, it becomes a different issue. They won't be permitted to play for their national teams in the event they have not been medically cleared by their NHL teams. You run into situations where, what does that mean? Medical clearance. In some cases, it's black and white. In some cases, it's not black and white, right? And there's going to have to be some reliance, as there always is, on a player's opinion as to whether his injury has recovered enough to qualify him as fit to play. And I would imagine, the vast majority, if not every single player, would like to be able to tell his team doctor, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
It's harder to be able to say that if they weren't good to go for the last game of the regular season before the break. But I think for the most part, and I think we as a league has progressed a long way in this way. These decisions are made really cooperatively between players and their clubs. Obviously, clubs have a right to be concerned about their assets and the value of their assets, and not allowing a player who's at risk of worsening an injury to play if that's the case. But I think the players are realistic about that as well. So I haven't perceived any real problems in that sense as we've moved toward here. But again, I think it's kind of early for me to make those conclusions. I will say, and I think this is kind of interesting, and John, you probably remember we used to do this exercise way back when everybody questioned, what the big deal was for the NHL to let its players go play in the Olympics. Mm-hmm. If you do an analysis of the contracts that have been insured, or the contracts that are at risk, really is what I should say, because all clubs are on the hook if a player gets hurt or, God forbid, has a career-ending injury for the balance of their NHL contracts. Those outstanding contractual commitments in the aggregate for the 158 players, NHL players will be playing, is over $3.7 billion. which is mind-boggling on a host of levels. But it does go to, the willingness of our owners and the league generally to support this is something that's good for the game. And giving, the IOC and the IIHF something that's fairly meaningful to the tournament that they put on in terms of loaning our players at significant risk to our clubs and the players to the IOC and the IIHF on a every 4-year basis.
So I'm not a lawyer, so forgive me. So does that mean that a guy gets a career-ending injury, he's insured through the agreement you have with the Federation and the IOC?
So 2 different things. One is the club has guaranteed his contract, right? So that an Olympic injury will be treated as a hockey-related injury, and the player will be guaranteed the remaining, compensation owed to him pursuant to his SPC. A portion of that is insured, and I would, we obviously there are intricacies to that, whether the deductible and the percentage, the copay, et cetera, et cetera. A large percentage of that $3.7 billion, a relatively large percentage of that $3.7 billion exposure is insured, but a portion of it's not.
Okay.
Just pick up on that after we take a break. Back with Bill Daly, Deputy Commissioner of the National Hockey League, with Millard and Shannon.
Car shopping should be exciting, not exhausting. That's where Car Gurus comes in. They have advanced search tools, unbiased deal ratings, and price history, so you know a great deal when you see one. It's no wonder that Car Gurus is the #1 rated car shopping app in Canada. When you're car shopping on your phone, it shouldn't be a maze. You need to see all the information. With the Car Gurus app, you can. Powerful search tools that you see deal ratings, price history, and dealer reviews on listings all in one place. And you can turn on real-time price drop alerts so you never miss a great deal. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships when you're ready, ensuring a transparent, hassle-free buying process. Buy your next car today at cargurus.ca. Make sure your deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.ca. cargurus.ca.
Bill, you do not want to see the premiums that insure this show. It's over the top.
I have no doubt. Well, you have very valuable talent that needs to be protected.
Yeah.
Or no, it's just pure liability, Bill. That's
the insurance.
At least you're doing it from different ends of the continent.
There you go.
the insured contracts, is some of that covered by the IIHF?
Well, he just asked. He just said
that. But was that part of the negotiation going forward to return to the Olympics?
Well, I mean, we've always had that. Well, let me back up. A lot of the players are already insured by their NHL clubs to some extent. The IIHF and the IOC gets the benefit of that coverage. That coverage remains in place.
Right.
The underwriters will cover for injuries sustained in accordance with the existing policies. On top of that, there's supplemental insurance for all the players who aren't insured, whose contracts aren't insured, and for kind of a step up in the coverage for guys who are insured.
Okay.
That is paid for by, in this case, and that's always been the case. And it's always been the responsibility of the IIHF and the IOC or the organizing committee or somebody. That wasn't our concern, as long as somebody stepped up to pay that. There was a more formalized negotiation as between their parties. So the IOC, the IIHF, the member national associations, who am I leaving out? And the organizing committee with respect to how to allocate the cost for the extra additional insurance. And the additional insurance is probably a little bit different than what it's been typically, but it's substantively the same.
Okay, that's what I was curious
yes,
about.
Our clubs are not responsible for that supplemental insurance that's been placed on behalf to cover contractual obligations to players.
You're going to laugh at this, but are you guys committed to 2030 in France?
Well, I mean, our agreements, our existing agreements contemplate us participating in France. So we fully anticipate we'll be participating in France. Having said that, in the contracts also it says subject to satisfactory conditions being agreed to, as they were in connection with Milano Cortina. And what I'd say is, the conditions probably differ from site to site, right? So it's not like we're just going to replicate. I mean, we now have a modern contract, actually two modern contracts, because one is as between the IIHF and the IOC, which we're not a party to. But we now have modern contracts that kind of reflect the expectations. My guess is as we go into the negotiation for Paris, those will be used as a kind of a form to negotiate from, which will make it easier, and which should be able to be resolvable more quickly than we were able to finally resolve this one. Again, I was never concerned that we'd get to yes on this one. People, it took 2 years, but some of the issues weren't issues until you get far or closer to the games. And that's always been the case. So it's, I'm confident that Paris won't be an issue.
So this is not a case of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Certainly not at this stage.
I think it's interesting. You got the Nagano poster behind you.
Yeah.
I was going to point that out if you guys didn't mention it. So that was our first Olympic effort.
Oh, we were there.
And I did bring that. I don't know, to tell the truth, I don't know exactly where I got it, but I did. It's been on my wall in my office since we got back from Nagano. This is the second office, but maybe even third office. But it's always been part of my wall decor since we started going to the Olympics.
I will tell you, Nagano, I've smiled and laughed with Daren a lot since all the discussions about the arena, because Nagano, one arena was built over a swimming pool, and the other arena was never going to have hockey in it again, and it was going to become a ballroom dancing stadium. So and there was drywall everywhere. I mean, the temporary dressing rooms were everywhere in that arena. So it was.
Yeah. I agree, John. I think actually the swimming pool arena was in the Tokyo games.
No. There were we played, because we did the games in '97 were done in Tokyo. The regular season games, the preseason games, were over the Olympic pool in Tokyo. But then the second venue in Nagano, where a lot of the women's games were, and a lot of the other preliminary round games that was a pool too. It was crazy. It was crazy.
They're bigger on pools in Japan than they are on ice rinks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking, Nagano behind you, that poster. If you would have asked you then, you probably would have said, "Okay, in 2026, it'll just be smooth. It'd be easy. We'd have this thing down pat."
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the impression I would have had coming out of Nagano necessarily. But look, we were fortunate to have regular participation from 1998 through 2014. We've been on hiatus for 12 years. A lot of things have changed in 12 years. Hopefully most for the better. As I said, the one thing I'm certain of is the quality of the tournament we're going to have this year is going to be much better, deeper, more skilled than the tournament we had in 2014, just because the world of hockey has really developed the elite level players, the skills, the countries they come from. We've seen significant improvement over time. The teams who can win and have an opportunity to win is much greater than ever before. So I actually think it's going to be a spectacular tournament.
John, a couple of non-Olympic items.
Yeah. Pittsburgh ownership. What's going on there? Is that a done deal now, or does it just need board approval? The change in ownership in Pittsburgh.
Well, as you know, John, nothing is a done deal until it has board approval. So it has not been put out for a board vote yet. It's not ripe for a board vote yet.
So there's due diligence still to be done on it, or
things. There are issues still to be resolved.
Okay.
As part of that process, it's progressing. It hasn't stalled. But it has not been sent out for board approval yet, and I don't anticipate that happening, before I get back from the Olympics at a minimum.
But before the end of the calendar, the NHL calendar year, before June 30th?
I never project out that way. I mean, I would expect it can move that fast. Yes. But I don't handicap those things.
Okay. There's been lots of discussion, and it's in the media world, and you know me, I love this kind of stuff. Is that the bankruptcy and the issues with Main Street and what's going on in the 7 regional packages that the NHL has contracts with FanDuel Sports Network. Are you confident that the regular season will end on FanDuel?
Yes, relatively confident. Yes. I mean, look, what I am confident of is that there's not going to be any interruption in distribution of production and distribution of games. I do at this point anticipate that means that the season will be completed on Main Street.
So, I mean, how does that affect, and how will that affect you guys? Would have done lots of stuff, and Joseph D'Souza is great at this. He's the CFO, everybody, of how it reflects in hockey-related revenue, because that's a lot of money on the regional basis, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it is. Obviously, it's a lot of money. Having said that, it's a much smaller percentage of our overall HRR than it is in other sports leagues. And particularly baseball. So it is. I think in terms of how you project kind of those revenues and over time, you have some reserves. You build in some insurance, for lack of a better term. So yeah, I don't think it really has any material impact on the overall HRR. Okay. It certainly has a significant and material impact on some of our clubs.
Right, and just again, the other one is with the federal government approving the NFL ESPN partnership. And this is just me more as a semi-consumer and somebody who might have just a little bit too much knowledge about it. Are you concerned that with ESPN and Disney partnering with the NFL that hockey's going to get lost?
No, I certainly have seen no indications of that. I think we've had meetings with ESPN relatively recently, where. I think we were very pleased with kind of their plans and their future plans and what they have in store for us and some of the exciting things that they've done in terms of their streaming service and what the future of that looks like. So I'm sure you saw it, John, and probably focused on it. I mean, we had a really big number for the stadium series on Sunday night. I think the largest audience we've ever had for a regular season game on cable. Certainly the largest audience ESPN's ever had for a regular season game. And so we're excited about the future. As you know, we still have two years left after this one. But I think there's an enthusiasm. The bigger issue and the bigger question we usually ask is, Warner Brothers Discovery and what the future is there. And that one is a little more uncertain. Having said that, they've been really, really good partners. My guess is that entity is going to exist in similar format on a basis going forward, perhaps with a different owner. So we'll see how that situation shakes out. But I think our partnership with ESPN has been great and is growing.
I would actually say that Sunday night to me was, and I'm not being negative, I thought actually was the first time I really believed that ESPN invested in the game. They really did. They did a lot more things, but it also was in a place, and with Disney World down the street and the pirate theme, it made a ton of sense.
I'll tell you, it wasn't Disney World weather.
No. Well, listen, it's okay. It'll be fantastic next October in Winnipeg when it's going to be 70 degrees.
Right. Exactly.
Do you like John Cooper's outfit or the goalie fight more?
You know what? I really thought there was so much, and that game had so much to offer, and the telecast of that game, which I didn't get to see as much, obviously, because I was there. But the player arrivals were like fantastic, and I think you can really lean into those, and our clubs have been more and more, and a lot of people give me a lot of crap for the dress code policy that we changed in collective bargaining, and we allow players a lot more latitude in terms of what they wear. I think it's good to see players' personalities, and I think in that respect it's been a positive rule change, and I think clubs have been able to handle it when players have pushed it too far. So I don't really see a real issue there.
Usually we blame Hainsey. We don't blame you.
There you go. Well, that's good. I mean, it was their idea, not mine. But Hainsey's had that idea since we came out of our last collective.
I
know. Anything on expansion? Any progress there? Pushing it ahead?
I wouldn't call it progress. I would say we're probably we continue to have interests. We continue to have meetings and discussions on those interests. It hasn't progressed to a point, quite frankly, where we bring something back to our executive committee or expansion committee or board of governors on opportunities. We brief them.
Are you closing in on that?
Regular basis? Well, I mean, without certain things happening, I don't know how you don't close in on it. So those certain things haven't happened yet. So I guess I'd say, no, we're not closing in on it. Could it happen tomorrow? Yeah, it could happen tomorrow.
It's amazing to think. What your first year as deputy commissioner, was that the year Columbus came in?
No. So my first year as deputy commissioner was coming out of the year-long lockout, right? So it was 2005, 2006. I joined the league in 1997 when we were when the league was in kind of the mid stages of that expansion process, the 4-team expansion, which I think we went to Atlanta. No, we went to Nashville first. Then we went to Atlanta in 99 and then Columbus and Minnesota in 2000. So I lived through that time period, did the expansion drafts during that time period, expansion drafts that weren't as generous as the Las Vegas and Seattle expansion drafts. So I've been around for a long time. I'm old.
Hard to imagine. Columbus, I think, was $80 million for the team.
Yeah.
And now when Gary was on with us just before Christmas, and he said, it's going to start with a 2. And then have a B on the next one, right? On the next word. So 2. So, and then when you consider most of these places will have to build an arena, that's another $1 billion. So we're talking a $3 billion investment just to get in the door and not even play a game yet. That's a big ticket, Bill. That's
true. Having said that, it's the market we're living in, for better or for worse, and for our existing owners, that's, I think, for better.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing Milano Cortina behind you with the poster when you get back. Safe trip and have fun.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
With the NHL app, you can listen to every NHL game right from your phone. And with home and away broadcast feeds, you choose your way to listen. Whether you're at work, at the gym, or stuck in traffic, the NHL app puts you right in the action all season long. Every team, every game, everywhere you go. Download the NHL app and never miss a moment.
I threw out the expansion question because of Rick Bowness. What do those have in common? We had Rick Bowness on, and I didn't ask him, hey, you ever want to coach again?
Right.
So the expansion question, I haven't heard anything, but I didn't want to be sitting here in 3 days and something come out about Houston or Atlanta and go, why didn't I ask Bill Daly about that? So that was strictly to cover my ass.
Yeah, that's good because we did when we had Gary on, we had the same thing about the Pittsburgh ownership.
Yeah, exactly.
It came out the next day that the group from Chicago was buying the Penguins and we didn't ask the question, and it was on my list to ask, and I said, Gary's getting a little short for time, so I didn't want to ask it. But we asked all the laundry questions today.
We did. I just had to get it out there to have it on the record. The Olympic roster freeze that goes into effect
today.
It's created a secondary deadline.
Has it?
Do you think the National Hockey League would ever do that going forward? Because it's created more interest and it's created more urgency. Even in a non-Olympic year, could you put it in like a 10-day roster freeze a month out from the trade deadline to accelerate it?
Well, then it's just you've just moved the deadline.
No. Have what?
But we know what's
exactly what we're going through right now: a roster freeze and then a trade deadline.
But if everything goes according to plan, we're going to see this every second year now. Right, Daren? Yeah. We're going to see.
So why not do it every year where you put it in and then you create a little interest and in front of the deadline, because it has generated news and lots of media coverage about player transactions.
Because at a certain point the deadline was not put in place to create media attention. Believe it or not.
It fell into that.
No, but the deadline and these timelines were put in place to protect the players. So I don't. Do you really want to? And if I'm the Players Association, and I'm not, if I'm the Players Association, I'm not sure I want to put the players through this and their families.
It's good for them. They get 10 days where they know they're not going to be traded anywhere.
No, you just said the hype now has created an illusion again. So
mutually beneficial.
So
you can have two things that happen at the same time.
I understand what you're saying. We are going to see this every second year. We're going to see it every second year, a deadline like this.
Let's do it every year.
But you don't want to drag the players or their families through it. Being traded it's not the same for you and me as it is for the guy that's being traded and his family and his kids. It's not the same. Be a little empathetic for what the player.
I am. I'm giving them 10 days where they're not going anywhere, where they would be eligible because the National Hockey League's playing.
No, but you like the hype. I do
like that too.
Well, it's what we're trying to do for the families and the players is get rid of some of the hype sometimes. Think of the players once in a while.
I am thinking of the players. You're skewing my argument.
No, you're not. Think of the players.
You again. Actually, I don't think I insulted you last time. I just made fun of you.
Hey, by the way, on Friday...
Nice computer today.
Better. Friday...
Yeah.
Daryl Sittler.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to sit and talk with Daryl Sittler the day before the 50th anniversary of his great night against the Boston Bruins. 10 points.
I have a conversation to have with Daryl Sittler that's going to make you have goosebumps.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I have some inside information on something with Daryl, and that connects to that night that will absolutely make the hair on the back of your neck stand up and goosebumps. And that is not hyperbole.
Well, we'll be the judge.
You don't even know about this.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it is. Oh, gives me shivers. It's so cool.
Okay,
I look forward to it.
We'll talk to Daryl
On Friday on 100% Hockey with Millard and Shannon. Give us a like, give us 5 stars, and comment on our YouTube channel.
Subscribe.
That's all you gotta do.
My dog needs dog food.
Just subscribe on 100% Hockey with Millard
Do
and
it
Shannon.
for Gordy.